friends, it's Kelly. Thanks for joining us today. I'm using the December hip kits, and this is what I designed in Silhouette Studio. So I'm going to start there and show you how I used a cut file by Kimberly Hutchinson. I just used one portion of the Village cut file. You get many layers, and this is the one with just the trees. So when you upload it to your design space in Silhouette, it comes in as a ping, and you want to use the trace feature and change it into a cut file, and then just erase the ping. Now I know I want to make a title at the top and put trees around it, and so I'm actually going to release the compound path so I can use or work with just the centerpiece. And I'm just going to modify it. I'm going to make it narrower and longer. My frame's going to be more of an oval shape than a round shape because I'm going to be putting mountains in the inside of the window there. And so you just use your arrows to change the shape, and then I'm going to put it in the center of my layout. I know I want to make photos at 2.5 inches square, and so I'm making a square and bringing it over to my layout to ensure that I've designed the window there to fit the photos that I plan to use. So I'll just put those in place and we'll make some mountains. Now I use the shape tool just to make an oval, and I've made it a little thinner and used the knife to cut off the bottom, and then I changed the knife shape so I could cut off the top of the oval, and that's going to be my snow. So you'll duplicate that as many times as you want mountains, and I'll add those to my layout design. I made them in 3 sizes. So let's move on to making some trees, and I've copied the main cut file, and I'm going to use the knife again to cut out one of the trees. So use the cog beneath this video to slow it down if you need to see it slower. So I'm going to use the knife again to straighten up the bottom and cut it in half. I'm going to do Command C, Command V to copy the good half and flip it horizontally and move it together. And now we're going to weld it, and you'll have one full tree with both sides looking good. So I'm going to use the point editing tool to kind of make the bottom a little more like a Christmas tree. You can add the point edit dots to your cut file by just double clicking on it, and point and click to erase dots, or point and click to move them around. So I've done an interior offset to make a second tree, and I've copied those 2 and resized them for another size of tree. And I'm going to take another copy and resize it for the edge of my cut file. I'm going to stipple this cut file line using the stipple feature. Move the toggle all the way to the right so the stipples are as far apart as they go, and then you use the trace feature to change it into a cut file. So there we have a tree where the cut file will just make little holes that I can stitch with DMC floss rather than cutting a tree out of my background. So let's go put it all together, and I started by chain stitching the entire cut file, my little trees on the edge there, and I've used the powder blue cardstock from the cardstock kit as my background layer to my cut file. Here's the mountains I cut out. I used paper from the main kit, and the snow caps were cut out of a pocket life card. So here you can see the trees. I stitched them together with a chain stitch, and then that adds a lot of nice dimension to my layout. So I'm going to slow down the process video and just show you a quick demo on chain stitching in case you want to layer your trees and chain stitch them together as well. So I have 2 sizes of the tree. This is the cut file I made in the Silhouette Design Studio. I'm just using a tiny dab of glue to put them together, and make it easier to punch my holes. And then I use all 6 strands of DMC floss. This is the piece of foam I use and a little needle to pierce through them with my pin. So I've got 6 strands of DMC floss on my needle, and I started at the top of my tree. You just go in your first hole and out through the next hole, and then I'll show you a chain stitch. So that's a pretty simple start. You gotta just try and not catch it on any of the branches. So from underneath, you go in the next open hole, come to the front, and under the first stitch you made. And that's a straight stitch. It works out good as a straight stitch because the tree is narrow on top. So you just go back down through the hole you came from. And that's your chain stitch. You'll go to the very end and tie a knot underneath. And then I use some liquid glue to affix the threads so they don't stick out. So they add a lot of nice dimension to the layout, and I think they turned out really cute. So I'm going to go ahead and pop up my cut file. First I wanted to do a little bit of splattering with white gesso, and I think it was the super talented Missy Whitten who suggested gesso over acrylic paint because it'll sit on top of your cardstock and be more visible than white acrylic paint. So I added some foam tape to the back of my stitched cut file, and I'm going to mount that up on my blue cardstock that's been splattered. Make sure that's dried really well. And I'm going to add some foam tape also to my little snow caps and pop those up on the top of my mountains, which I thought turned out so cute, kind of whimsical, not jaggy and harsh like real mountains, but they fit my style here on the layout. You just have to make sure that when you add foam tape to the back of the cut file, if you plan to make this cut file, that you leave a little space to tuck things in. So once I had them on my layout and liked the position they were in, I glued those with just some double-sided sticky tape. And I used the Sticky Thumbs tape by American Crafts. It holds things really well, which works for me because I always make sure I have things where I want them before I tape them down. And there's my 3 mountainscapes. Cute, cute. So time to add my layered trees, which I stitched the layers together with chain stitching. And in my design, I just tried to make the colors 2 similar colors, not too close together. So not too complicated. I put blue by my peachy stitch tree, and I put a peach tree next to my blue stitch tree. A couple I popped up with foam tape, and a couple I didn't. The ones that are sitting within the frame, that would have been tricky to lift the layers. And the foam tape does let you reposition them for a little bit if you need to get them in the correct position. So time to add my photos. And I took the Project Life cards and layered my photo on that, and then layered both of those on top of some vellum. And you might have seen me do this before. I like to sand the edge of my photo just to reveal a little white around the photo. It works super well for winter photos because it kind of looks like it's been frosted. And then the vellum just adds a whisper of a layer behind that. I like that you can still see the background paper on behind it. So my apologies, my camera didn't record me adding the title. I've just added the puffy mini alphas around the edge of the window frame. To the mountains we go. This is actually my friend Nadine and her family. Anna and Corey, they love visiting the mountains, and this particular visit, it was super duper cold. So the pictures are all very frosty and perfect for this particular collection from the Hip Kit Club. I went through all the products. The links will be in the description box. I added a couple phrase stickers on the top photo. One says, "Baby, it's cold out," and "Together is best." And then another phrase sticker on the bottom left photo. It says, "It's so pretty, I believe." And then "Let's go out and make new memories" is from the cardstock mini stickers. And I just laid that across the bottom two photos. So those puffy stickers that I'm working with there, they're so pretty, and I can't wait to use more on my next layout. They're ombre in color, so I just used a couple of those and popped them around my layout just to add a few more pieces of ephemera. I was leaving the white part of this layout as sort of the resting spot for the eyes, because the bottom half of the layout is busy with trees and mountains and stitching and ephemera and photos and all the pretty things that you'll find in the December hip kits. So finally, I added a few sequins from my stash and a few spots of the Nouveau crystal drops that you'll find in this month's color kit, as well as the crystal drops that were in the October or November color kit, the peachy ones. They just match perfectly. That's what I'm using right there. And that pretty much finishes my layout. So lots of detail is my thing. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe picked up a couple tips for your own layouts. Thanks again for being here. Be sure to check out the other designers today on our blog and in our members forum. Any questions you might have for me about this layout, you can leave them in comments. I do check back and I'm happy to reply. There'll be some close-ups coming up here shortly, and have a great week and a super happy New Year too. Bye for now.